Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. It is great to hang out with you guys. We're going to have a great conversation here today about the death of YouTube, or not death of YouTube. I was, what was it, like last week, I was at a YouTube event out in California, but I heard about another event that was happening where they had this big panel discussion on how YouTube is dying. And how this is not a platform that will be around much longer, and just how terrible it is, and that it's not working, and all the woes, and everything. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, one, I'm glad I wasn't at that event, because who are those people who are like? I understand there's a lot of frustrations, right? But what I'm going to do with you guys here today is talk through some recent stats. And about how YouTube is growing. Thank you, Crash Andy, for becoming a sponsor. That's awesome. Really appreciate that, Crash Power. Good to see you, man. Thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it. Now, I know a lot of you guys here, we're live streaming this. Those of you guys who are watching the replay of this, we want to get into some of these links. You can listen to this on double speed if you want and kind of keep up. I know some of you guys wanted to talk about sponsors being featured as well, some of you guys in the chat. And so let's quickly, very briefly talk about sponsors, the new sponsor button that's down below that Crash just became a part of. And then I want to get into kind of what we're talking about here about what's happening, what the actual stats are. And the reason I want to get into this with you guys as creators, because whenever I evaluate, I skim through about 1,000 different blog posts every month, just preparing for these weekly talks. If you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you do that. And make sure you show up every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time for these, because I always want to come back to what's happening and changing in the industry, and what does it mean for us as creators who are actively trying to grow our audiences, grow our YouTube channels, reach people, impact lives, build a business, and those types of things. So for those of you guys who are in the chat here, and please feel free to ask your questions. Heidi is here. I saw her channel is Scandinavian Today, and so you can thank you for the $2, 5 points. We appreciate that. She'll be taking your questions and then adding them to a document now that I'll be able to make sure we catch up on your questions and talk about those things. And yeah, so thank you, Heidi, for doing that. And you guys you'll see her in chat. Scandinavian Today is her channel. So, and there might be someone else. I'm not sure. Some of the other moderators are here or not. So, yeah. So first of all, the sponsorship thing, and then let's dig into this. And for those of you guys who are watching the replay, just skip ahead if you're not interested in the sponsor thing. Yeah, so what's the sponsorship thing? So what it is, I'm not going to go in totally because I just did a video last week about what it is and how it works, but it lets your viewers sponsor your channel for $4.99 a month, and in return for that, they get access to additional perks on your channel. So the free content that all of you guys, for example, who are watching this know, like, and trust and have been watching, none of that is changing. None of that is going away. This is just an additional thing for those of you who want to help support and get additional access to like next week after our show here, we'll be doing a yeah, and those of you in chat who are sponsors, you get that little a little tag next to your name, and your chat stands out as green. So that's what you guys are seeing there. But we got like a monthly call-in show. Like, you guys can call in and we can actually talk on the phone, kind of like a radio show, but we're going to live stream it here, so that'll be exclusive for sponsors only. I'm going to have exclusive trainings. We got one there with Roberto Blake so far, and there'll be more coming. Another one I'll be working on 2 more that new sponsors will get access to, and existing ones as well. And you guys click that sponsor button, you'll see what's there. But then you get access to that on the community tab. And so for I make sponsor only posts there on the community tab, only you guys get access to. So you guys who are thinking about doing it, and I know a lot of questions on the last video were, what is the eligibility requirements and how do I get it? So a lot of you, oh, thank you, another new sponsor, Chaviser Ghostar. Great to have you. Thank you. So what the eligibility requirements for this is the biggest question. People are like, most of you guys getting angry, and I understand why, which is this is only available for channels with 100,000 subscribers or more. Like, what the heck? Why would you do that? What about, like, why don't they allow sponsors to be available for the little guy and for the new creators? We could really use this. It would be really helpful. And I understand all that, and you're right. Just to remind you guys that this program, the sponsored feature, is still in closed beta. And it's not, there are many channels who are in this closed beta who have less than 100,000 subscribers. So it's not just like a big channel thing, and it's been around for gaming, like Andy, who just became, Crash Power, who just became a sponsor. There's a lot of gaming channels have had it for a while, but it's not like all gaming channels get access to this like immediately after certain thresholds even. So it's something YouTube is keeping their reins on. They're slowly experimenting with this. And so I think it's normal from what I've seen. And I'm not setting expectation for this. I'm just saying a pattern that YouTube tests things with a higher threshold of people they have relationships with and trust and want to get information from and things. So I have agreed to give YouTube a lot of information in exchange for having that button and giving them feedback about it. And then as they collect more information and more data, and then they'll be able to make a better determination of what level channels get access to it and what channels don't. So I understand the frustration, but let's just not jump to conclusions yet. It will become more broadly available, and when it does, you guys will know about it. I'm saying I think it'll become more broadly available. Let me back up because it's live. I can't edit myself. And if it does, then we'll know the eligibility requirements are at that time. So let's just I understand why people get frustrated, but we just don't know yet. So, and thank you for the $10. We're going to jump into the topic here. 5 points vids. I have 112,000 subs, and I have a flat growth for the past 5 months. My peers have been growing. I stream content, and they don't. Is streaming hurting me? My audience retention on normal vids is over 70%. Help. I don't know what's going on. I do know as far as super chats and questions are going to concern as we kind of transition to this other topic of YouTube being dead and the stats around the platform recently. I'm just gonna restrict it to questions that are on topic. But regarding that one, 5 points, I don't know. I'd have to look at your channel to know what's going on and dig into your analytics. So I wish I could be more helpful, but yeah, that's I don't have enough information there to really know. So. Oh, welcome Beyond Lockdown, another sponsor. Great to have you. You guys are so cool. I can't wait with you sponsors to really give you guys more behind the scenes stuff, give you guys access to other live streams, sponsor-only live streams, and the call-in shows I'm especially looking forward to. Not just giving you guys like these additional in-depth, like hour-long trainings they'll be doing. You know how like people do webinars, and at the end they make their money by upselling you or selling you into a program of theirs because of the webinar? I don't do that. I'm not against it. I just don't do it personally. But I'm looking forward to giving you guys that type of like hour-long training content just as sponsors and stuff. So I've got 2 that I'll be recording here soon, and you can currently get the one of a conversation. It's an hour-long conversation between me and Roberto Blake about how to develop a winning content strategy for your YouTube channel. So that one's available right now. How many hats do I own? The Bigfoot Barnes? Just this one, and then when I work out and I guess all sweaty and dirty and mow the lawn and things like that. Okay, so let's kind of switch topics here and talk about this. I'm going to record this as a podcast, so let me hit the recording, and then I'm going to record this, just kind of talk for a little bit, and then at the end I'm going to jump into all your questions that oh wait, were there any questions about the sponsor? No, okay. I'm going to jump into your questions about the are you guys finding the custom emojis? You Beyond Lockdown. Good job. Sweet. So we'll jump into your questions here at the end. All right, here we go. Hello, creators. It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode like we do every Tuesday on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, everywhere you listen to your podcast. We are there. And today we got a great topic talking about how YouTube is dying, how YouTube is dead, and what's happening on this platform in terms of stats. So the reason I want to talk about this is, one, we just got a lot of new interesting data from YouTube because last week they had their Google I/O developer conference, and at that conference they released a lot of updated stats about the platform and how it's performing and what's happening on the service that we're all growing audiences and businesses around. And we learned a lot of new information, and I think it's good to put some of this in perspective. So the whole YouTube dying thing is something that I hear from creators, I wouldn't say pretty regularly, but consistently I hear this like, oh, YouTube doesn't care about us, and the platform is just struggling. And I understand where that YouTube is dying sentiment comes from. It usually comes from creators who are frustrated that certain things aren't working the way that they wish they were, or the way that they hoped they would be working. They're annoyed or aggravated that they're not getting the attention or the growth that they want. And that frustration leads to conclusions that tend to support what we're feeling, right? And so I understand that. Absolutely, totally, 100%. So last week I was at a convention, and it was a great convention, great conference. I was a speaker there. I talked about how to 150x your YouTube revenue, which sounds like a clickbait title, but it totally wasn't. It was a lot of fun. Had a great conversation about the business side of growing the revenue side of your YouTube channel. And when I came back, I heard from someone who was at a different YouTube convention about how they had a whole panel discussion there about how YouTube is dying. And I was like, man, guys, like, I'm not sure what you're looking at here, but we got some updated stats here, and there's a link in the show notes. Or for those of you who are watching the live stream of this, there's a link down in the chat that you guys can get to that has some updated stats that YouTube shared at their Google I/O developer conference and about YouTube. And what I want to kind of do is compare it to Facebook, because there's not a lot of people. Well, I should take that back. So I was going to say there's not a lot of people who say Facebook is dying, but actually, after the Mark Zuckerberg appearance in front of the U.S. Senate and all that, I feel they're like, oh boy, this is not going to change anytime soon. So, let's just compare it to Facebook. Whether or not Facebook is dying is not another topic, I guess. But what I want to give you guys is some of the updated stats we have here. And I hope that these are encouraging to you as a creator, because it lets you know a few things. One, where the potential is on the site for what you're doing, but also where some of the opportunities are. And we're going to talk about some of those that I see in these stats. So the first stat, and then what I want to do also is talk about some of the other strategies that YouTube is and features that YouTube has announced that I think could impact some of these opportunities for us. So that's where I want to go with our time here together today. So YouTube at this event, they announced that it has over 1.8 billion with a B billion monthly logged in users. So 1.8 billion people, different people, are logging into the website, into YouTube with accounts every month. That is a lot of people. So you think there is a potential for one channel to get everyone to subscribe. It wouldn't be in the millions of subscribers. It wouldn't even be in the hundreds of millions of subscribers. It would be almost 2 billion subscribers. That is a lot, right? A lot of people. So compare that to Facebook, and they just ended their first quarter, and their number is that they have nearly 2.2 billion monthly active users. So Facebook still has a good, 500 million people more than YouTube does. But here's the number I want to look at. So Facebook is adding users at around 13% year over year as their growth rate is they're growing. YouTube, though, just increased its user count by 20% in less than a year. So in other words, YouTube is growing at about twice as fast as Facebook is from a new user perspective. The number of new users who are signing up for the platform, for the service. YouTube doesn't have as many monthly logged in users yet, but it's growing twice as fast as Facebook. So if these numbers stay consistent in the long run, in the future, it's not it wouldn't be too surprising to learn that Facebook becomes number 2 to YouTube in terms of monthly users. So Facebook when it last reported when the YouTube last reported, it had about 1.5 billion users, monthly logged in users, which was last year. And so that means, given the trajectory, they're growing twice as fast as Facebook is right now. So, okay, so that's about people who are logged in. But what about actual user activity? People who are actually using the platform. What does that look like? So the average amount time that a Facebook user spends inside the YouTube app is 27 minutes per day. So almost a half hour, the average Facebook user. Instagram has about 800 million users on average, using between 24 and 32 minutes on average. So approximately about the same amount of time people are spending on Facebook as the amount of time they're spending on Instagram. Just a lot less people on Instagram, 800 million users on average. YouTube, though, the average user there spends, they said, over 1 hour per day in the YouTube mobile app alone, not including desktop, not including other things, just the mobile app. People are spending twice as much time in the YouTube app as they are on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram and Facebook combined is close to what people are spending on YouTube. And so YouTube is it's growing. People are spending time here. So the idea that this is dead, to me, does not make sense unless you're looking at like a specific part of YouTube that might be dead, or a specific feature that might be dead, or something like that. Then that makes sense to me. But to just kind of look at the platform overall and say this platform must be dead, maybe. But I think we're seeing some things. We're going to keep going here, but I think we're seeing some things that are indicating that there's a lot of growth and a lot of time being spent. So one of the things I think that happens, and this actually, I remember this happened to me. What was it? 2001. Yeah, 2001. I was it 2001? No, it wasn't at 2001. It was the second VidCon. So that was like 2011, maybe, I think. That was back when it still met in a hotel. It hadn't gotten big enough to be in a San Diego Anaheim Convention Center. This was, I was talking to a YouTube employee about some of my frustrations with the platform. And I still have them today, by the way. But that's a whole other topic. And I was like, because in my mind, I was experiencing YouTube as one thing. Something the way I used YouTube and what it meant to me. And she was listening to my frustrations, and she said to me, Tim, you have to remember that YouTube means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I was like, you're right. That makes sense. She's like, the people who are just coming for the Taylor Swift music videos are different than the people who are actively watching a lot of family vlogs. And that's different from the people who are using it for academic purposes. YouTube means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And so what she did, she kind of expanded my viewpoint and my perspective of like, this is not just what Tim Schmoyer is experiencing and the way I use YouTube and the way I want it to be. There's like 1.8 billion people a month right now. And you can just imagine, in order to get to 1.8 billion people, there has to be a very broad, wide range of uses and case studies and scenarios. Some using it for education, some using it for entertainment, some using it for a lot of different things. Research, for recruitment, for sales. There's a lot of different things. And so YouTube has a huge task that they're trying to address here. And so a lot of those frustrations I think people feel are totally valid, and they come from that creator's perspective. But we have to remember, YouTube has this crazy job of trying to satisfy 1.8 billion people plus more, and to continue to grow it. So we could talk a little bit more about that, but just remember there's a lot of different people using YouTube for different things other than what we are. Let's talk about some more stats that came out, and this is where I think we can get some more actionable steps out of as creators. YouTube viewers are increasingly watching on television sets. So users combined, all these users combined are streaming 1 are streaming 150 million hours per day on television. 150 million hours per day they're streaming on televisions. So you can find this, what's happening on your channel. Just go to YouTube Analytics in that left sidebar there, click on Devices, and you can see exactly on your content how many people are watching on television or mobile versus desktop. Mobile is very high. I know on most of my channels, and for most channels that I work with, I see a lot of them having increasingly high mobile audiences, and some types of content are doing more on television. What I would recommend that you do is go to your analytics and just change it to lifetime. In the upper right corner, there's a little drop down there that has like the date. What's the word? It shows you the time frame of what you're looking at for your analytics right there. And just change it to lifetime and just look at that television stats or gaming consoles, which would include televisions, obviously, and see how that's trending. If it's trending for you more towards television, then that'd be something you want to keep in mind. Now, I do have a video that I published a few weeks ago on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/video creators about how to optimize your content for mobile, which is very important. The things you need to keep in mind as people are watching on tinier screens, listening through tinier, tintier phone speakers, or through high fidelity headphones, right? There's a lot of different things you have to keep in mind for how you edit and present your content to be optimized for that viewing experience. The same is going to become more and more true for television viewing, which is like the opposite of mobile, which is like tiny screens, headphones, and tiny little speakers in the phone, versus television screens, which are huge in HDR, often 4K resolution. There's less engagement. People aren't really commenting from televisions. It's harder to do that. It's not impossible to leave comments on videos, but there's longer viewing sessions and watch time on. So there's a lot to get into, but to suffice it for this conversation, I highly recommend that you go check out those analytics of the devices and start thinking about how do we optimize content for where the trajectory of our traffic is going in the future for people who are watching. So kind of going along with that same information about television viewing increasing, we've seen over the past year a lot of companies launching several different original productions, and YouTube themselves, they said that they have garnered over 700 million views on their YouTube originals, mostly through YouTube Red. So that's enough apparently to make YouTube even want to double down even more, and they're renewing 3 of the 7 series and launching another round. And last night, 2 nights ago, I logged into YouTube TV. I love YouTube TV, which we'll talk about here in a second, by the way. But I saw a whole new slew of all these new, this lineup. I think slew is not the technical word. Lineup is the right word. Of all of these new original series being added to YouTube Red. And it's starting to feel more and more, especially YouTube TV, more than just a YouTube app. It's starting to feel more and more like a Netflix or an Amazon Video, Prime Video, or on any of those types of things. And there's been one series that has gotten a lot of attention that YouTube is kind of hoping this becomes the next the Cobra Kai series, just renewed for season 2. And I think they're kind of hoping this becomes like their House of Cards, like Netflix has. They're hoping this becomes the House of Cards for YouTube Red, Cobra Kai. Now, I haven't watched it yet, but apparently after the first, renewed after 1 week after this Cobra Kai series launched on YouTube, they had already renewed it for a second season. And I've seen other YouTube creators that I respect and trust and follow on Twitter just tweeting about this series, saying how amazing and awesome it is. So I'm definitely going to check it out. But with the increase of television viewing, along with the additional YouTube Red production, YouTube is dumping a lot of money into making originals to bring more people into YouTube Red, into YouTube TV to access these originals. What that means for us as creators is hopefully we'll get the trickle-off effect of this, of seeing our YouTube Red revenue increase. You can see that in your analytics on the left sidebar there, youtube.com/analytics, and then click on, I'm putting myself on the spot here. It's youtube.com. It's like add a revenue at the top, And then once you click on revenue, there's a little button there that you can click on that you can see just your YouTube Red. Let me just make sure I'm correct there. Revenue. Yes. And then you can see your YouTube Red revenue there. And for some channels, it's more than others, but the way YouTube Red works is people pay like $10 a month for access to all these originals, and you get a cut of that, which is roughly, I think, 55% of that gets split. So like $5.50 gets split among the creators that user actively watches on YouTube. And so if they spend 100% of their time watching your content, you're going to get $5.50 for them approximately. There's more math that goes into it, but just for the sake of our math, that's where we're at. So that viewer becomes far more valuable than an ad-supported viewer, which it kind of depends on the watch time they're giving you and things like that. But most of the time, my rough math is that they're worth somewhere around 25 times more money than an ad-supported viewer. So, and there's a lot of variables to consider. That's very rough math, but just to give you a perspective of they're far more valuable. So I'm really rooting for these originals. I think it's going to bring more professionalism to the platform. It's less about cat videos now, and you see a lot more Hollywood coming over. And because of that, I think more and more people are pitching, are buying YouTube Red, which we'll talk about here. Let's suffice it to say that it's growing, and I think that it's awesome, and I think it's really going to be helpful for all of us as creators in the long run. So if you don't have YouTube Red, I highly recommend it. I love it. It's $10 a month, and just removing the ads from YouTube alone makes it amazing experience. Like, just sign up, do the 3 or 4 month trial, whichever promo they're doing right now. Try it for a few months for free. And I promise you, when you go back, you will hate it. So, yes, YouTube Red is awesome. Okay, so let's talk about YouTube TV a little bit and what that means for us. If you're not familiar with YouTube TV, you can go to tv.youtube.com, and it is a streaming service for YouTube. So think of it as like it's unlimited DVR, but you can watch anything that's on television, stream it, and you can stream it live on YouTube. So instead of just watching it over the air on your television set, you can now watch it through YouTube TV. And the cool thing about this is that you have unlimited DVR. You can share it with family members and get access to all the YouTube Red original stuff. It doesn't remove ads from the YouTube platform like YouTube Red does, but you still do get access to YouTube originals through this. I signed up for it mostly just for like professional reasons, just kind of check it out, see what it's like, see if it's something that so I can talk intelligently about it. And I didn't expect to keep it. I was just going to do it for like a month or two, do my research and kind of get off. But we don't have Netflix as a family, and we use it far more than we don't have Netflix. We used to use Amazon Prime Video, but now we don't even use that anymore. Everything on YouTube Red is like, it's just good. When you guys get into that platform, it's very well done, very well put together, and I know I sound like a YouTube fanboy right now, but I just think like it's good. So the service, the news that we've learned about it is that they said that the service has around 300,000 subscribers. So it's not even close to like dwarfing some of these other services that we see out there like Amazon and Netflix and things. But it's bringing on a lot more networks that you can get a la carte. So rather than paying for a whole cable subscription just to get that one channel that you want, there's more and more of those coming on to YouTube, and you can get like just that one, like just HBO or just Star or just Time or Turner Networks just came on and things too. So and I get access to channels we don't have access to over the air here, which is cool. A lot of Disney stuff for my kids, which they like, and things. So YouTube TV is growing, and I think that to kind of wrap up, and then I want to share one more news feature, new feature that YouTube just is implementing on Android, which I think is interesting. Which is kind of, some of us are like, no, don't do that, but overall the YouTube growth seems like it's a great sign, and that there's still plenty of room for more growth. I just had a Twitter conversation earlier today with someone who's like, I want to do this thing, and they're kind of being facetious, but kind of being serious, which is, I want to start a fishing channel in Portuguese, but that channel can only get about 5,000 subscribers, so why should I even start it? Or, it's YouTube only cares about working with the big channels. And my response is like, but YouTube is growing so fast that maybe Portuguese isn't like a huge territory or a huge demographic right now on YouTube, but with the trajectory, it could be in a few years. So I would get started now before you have a lot of competition, so that, a lot of creators that I talked to today, they're like, oh man, it was so much easier to grow your channel back in like 2011 or 12, and there wasn't as much competition. It's a lot harder now. And so for some of you guys who are in other countries, I'm like, yeah, now's the time to get started. It might not be huge in your country, but given the direction that everything's going, and I don't mean by just YouTube, I mean like internet access and accessibility and mobile phones and all that, and the offline features that YouTube is adding, there's going to be more and more accessibility in the years ahead. So start now. Don't wait to get started now with that idea that you think it can't be huge. And I would say just wrap a good business model around it that makes it financially sustainable for you. You guys have heard my story before. I won't go into it here, but YouTube, I started this channel and supports me. And if we got a team of people, of YouTube strategists and people who are working with channels like yourself now, and I don't have a huge channel. The Video Creators channel gets less than 1 million views a month, and it's supporting me and a team of us who are working with other creators because there's a business model around it. That's what you guys need to do too, and you can make it sustainable with very few views, very few subscribers. It's actually what I went into more depth in my session at this convention last week. But I do have a course called Turn YouTube into Your Career, which is like the most in-depth step-by-step process of how to do that. So you guys can check that out, videocreators.com, in case you're interested. Let's talk about this new feature. Because this new feature kind of seems like it kind of goes against everything that YouTube is trying to accomplish here. And that is, they are adding as a little notification, or an option for it anyway, to Android. They introduced this new feature called a take a break notification, which will just kind of gently nudge users to find something else to do other than watch an hour of videos that, and you can set this to whatever time you want. I feel like YouTube's trying to be responsible, because their goal is to get as many people on the platform as long as possible, seeing as many ads as possible, engaging with as many channels as possible, right? Like that's kind of what they're trying to do. But they also know that there's got to be a limit to that, and there's probably some social responsibility for what we're doing with addictive natures and things like that. And so you have to opt into it. It's not like a default thing, but you can just go under the settings menu in the YouTube mobile app on Android, and there's a little label there. At least I assume it's only Android. My understanding is that it's Android, but it might not be. But there's a little setting there called Remind Me to Take a Break, and then you can choose the frequency at which YouTube will deliver a notification, either never, or every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 180 minutes. You'll say, those little pop-ups say, hey, you've been watching for 15 minutes. Time to take a break. And then it has like a dismiss button or a settings button where you can change it. So I remember back when I was really into gaming years ago, before I got married and had kids. I was ranked in the world in a game called Guild Wars, and yeah, back then I had a lot of time for that kind of stuff. And I remember that after you play in some of those games for so long, there's pop-ups in the game that say, hey, you've been playing for so long, you need to take a break. And I never paid attention. I was like, heck no, I don't want to take a break. I'm having fun right now. But YouTube is being socially conscious, making it easy for you to dismiss it, and potentially ending the viewing sessions on your videos and things like that. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. I think it's a nice gesture. I don't think most people will use it, and the people that do probably won't stop if they're in a good viewing session. So I don't think we have too much to be worried about, but it'd be interesting to see kind of how that goes. So a lot of things to talk about here, and you guys have been asking some good questions. Let's jump into some of your questions here that you guys, and for those of you who are listening to the podcast recording of this, I am live streaming this on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/video creators. And so you can join us over there, but that's where these questions are coming from. Okay. Green Shorts DIY, $5. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Tom. I like the a la carte approach to YouTube. Finally, it took a disruptor like YouTube to make that happen. Cable providers would never have done that. Yeah, it's not as much as you would probably hope, Tom. It's like you can't go in a full menu and like, hey, I want this and I don't want that. It's not quite that granular yet, but I do see certain like add-on packages. You spend an extra $5 and get this package or get that or not package, but that channel or something is there a little bit in tiny little glimpses of like, oh, so they're thinking about it. They're trying. And I'm sure those networks are tied up on like so many complicated and intertwined licensing agreements and things with other providers that it's going to be a long time before we see kind of like exactly what we're talking about now, the way you would subscribe to YouTube channels, for example, doing that on television. If that even becomes a thing ever, I don't know, but that's kind of where it's at. Peter Gregg, another $5. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Question on $100 income. How much does YouTube take versus what Patreon takes? P.S. I tried YouTube Red because of you. Loved it and stayed. Oh, cool. Thank you. Well, not thank you. I don't get anything from that, but I'm glad you're liking it. On $100 income, YouTube, it depends on what you're talking about. Like on the sponsor feature that I have here on the channel now for $4.99 a month, you guys get access to additional perks on my channel, additional exclusive content and things like that. That's a 70-30 split. So YouTube takes 30% and the creator gets 70%. So of your $4.99, I get approximately $3.50. $3.50. If it's ad split, that's typically a 45-55 split. So 55% of the ad revenue goes to you, 45% goes to the creator. And there's other breakdowns too, depending on the feature you're talking about, but that's kind of the breakdown. And we got a new sponsor. Thank you, Pony Show, for becoming one of those $4.99 sponsors. It's great to have you. Looking forward to doing that exclusive call-in show with you every week or every month. And be fun to actually talk to you guys like on the phone. It's gonna be really cool to like rather than just reading your comments, have you call in. You're gonna call in, give you a secret phone number. You're gonna call in. We're gonna talk live on the stream. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we can't wait to do that. Okay, so Watch Me ADHD. You said specific parts of YouTube might be dead. Is lifestyle vlogging dead? I'm not sure what you mean by lifestyle vlogging. If by lifestyle vlogging you mean people who are just reporting about their day, like status updates throughout their day, I'd say that's not dead by any means. It depends on the target audience you're going after. Let's define it this way. If it is just strictly you giving status reports from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day, I'd say that's declining, and I think that's less engaging because it doesn't give people as much of a reason to care unless you have like a super amazing life. But most of the people now are writing, they are telling good stories. And so they're not just reporting about their life, but they're looking at their life and they're saying, this is a story I'm living. How do I tell that story? And so I wouldn't say it's dead, but I would definitely think more about story. I'm not saying you need to live your life any differently. I'm just saying you need to be more intentional about like what's happening today, what's on my schedule. Okay, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. Okay, how do I tell that story in a way that is about a character who wants something, is overcoming conflict to get it, and is transformed by the process? How do I follow that structure by it? So, no, not dead, but I do think you need to think more about story. Diane, do they break it down by country? Because that's what's important. I'm not sure what you're referring to by country, but if you're looking at like different metrics in your analytics regarding viewing devices and things like that, then yes, it can be broken down. Car Galaxy Studios, what part of YouTube is dying? You know, most of this comes from people who are frustrated with monetization. or their channel being taken down, or they were frustrated with just getting enabled for monetization, or that they used to be monetized, but now they have to have 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers before they can even be reviewed, eligible for monetization. And then even that process can take several months before they're actually approved and reviewed and things. And so I think that frustration is leading people to say, this place is dying and they're not taking care of creators, and it's only a matter of time until this platform is dead, because the creators will go away as soon as something better comes along. I don't think, the only thing better that would come along would have to come from Amazon at this point. And I'm not saying it won't happen, because I've been kind of keeping my eye on some things over there. But even if something does come along, it's going to be like Facebook. Facebook video, people are like, all right, everyone from YouTube doesn't like YouTube, is going to jump to Facebook. And we've learned that Facebook video is just a different tool. It accomplishes something differently. It reaches a different audience, and it's just different. So YouTube and Facebook video have a lot of similarities, but they're different in a lot of ways as well. So I think if Amazon did something, the same thing would be true. It would be part of Amazon Prime, so you'd have to pay a monthly fee in order to get access to it. It's probably not just going to be user-generated content. It's going to be a lot of different. So it's going to be different again. But the people who say YouTube's dying, that's usually what their frustration is. I personally think it is good that YouTube is focusing on the advertisers. I think they're doing their best to help creators as much as they can as well. But if the advertisers go away, then everyone here doesn't make money, including YouTube themselves. You guys are going to remember that. So when demonetization happens, it's not YouTube just trying to nail you. They lose out on that revenue as well. So if you're not making money on your content, then neither is YouTube, because there's a revenue split. So I think it's good that they're focusing on the advertisers, and I think us as creators, we can just understand that this is a really big, complicated thing they're dealing with, and they're doing the best they can. And frankly, I think given the cards that they've been dealt and the thing that they're trying to build, I think they're doing the best they can. I know they're doing the best they can. Not saying it could be better. I'm not saying they're not doing some things wrong, but I think there's a lot of things that I can sympathize with where they're at. Maybe I should say it that way. Yeah, going along with that, Team Bills Gaming. How come YouTube doesn't support the smaller channels? They do. There's just a lot of them, and they usually need a lot of. They have a lot of help and a lot of requirements and a lot of requests, and so they need better ways to scale that. So it's just a sheer logistics thing. That's all that's going on there. Kevin Paulita, our fitness channel's dead. I don't think there's any one genre that's dead. I think there's just some people who are being more creative in some genres than others and growing faster and attracting more attention because they're getting people to watch. There's too many creators, I think, now who started a few years ago who are, for lack of a better word, I think they're just married to their content. Like they can't think outside the box. You guys have seen me on Video Creators. For years, I was doing the 9 principles for this and 10 ways to do that, and tutorial videos are kind of like click here, click there type of things. And those did great for a few years, but now there's a lot of other people in this space who are doing that same type of content for you guys, which I think is great. They're doing a great job. For me to stay ahead of them, I just kind of need to go with where they haven't yet, because the barrier of entry of that is lowering. And so I need to step up my game, and that's why I've talked to you guys openly about this. I think for me, it's more going towards a narrative-based approach and storytelling. And I'm hoping we get this first video where I really try to do this well. It's coming up on Thursday, which would be the 19th or something of May. And I worked really hard on that. It's not going to turn out exactly how I had planned, which is great. It's a learning process, but trying to get ahead and telling better stories in a way that's still educational, but also inspirational for you guys. I don't want to just tell you guys what to do, but I want to tell you stories that help shape your beliefs and change what you actually believe about some of these things. So you don't just watch a video like, that's nice, Tim, I understand what I should do now, and then you don't do anything. Let's be honest. Like, that happens a lot. Instead, but you hear some of this stuff, you hear the story, the context behind it, you hear about the impact and difference it made in someone's life or in their channel. Now you actually believe that this thing can help you, and then you're far more likely to actually do it. So I think stories can help do that, which is why I'm trying to learn that and go that direction. $5 from Carolyn Quest. Thank you. Tim, I interview gaming streamers. Can I legally interview underage streamers? I don't know. That is not, I actually don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. Sorry. Might be worth contacting a lawyer or something and asking about that. I'm not sure. Beyond Lockdown, $4.99. I think the new policy just helps us try harder and show more dedication. I am glad that you think that. Beyond Lockdown, and thank you for Beyond Lockdown for becoming a sponsor on the channel. I really do appreciate that. And if that's the kind of attitude of the people who are going to like grow and who are going to keep going and who are going to make a big difference, like the people who don't just like, oh, YouTube's against me, the world's against me, and then you lie down and quit. I've said this before, and you guys, it makes sense, but 100% of the people who quit never make it. So I'm glad you see this as motivation to keep going. Thank you, Nick Kelly, for the $1, and Joe Cronin showed $10. I've never seen this bad, but I was still able to get 25,000 on random videos this week, and my channel is very vulgar, so there's hope for some. Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, YouTube's not shutting you down just because you're not advertiser safe for all advertisers. There's still some advertisers who will want to be on that content and are targeting that type of audience. So it's not all doom and gloom. Okay. Is Twitch, Danny Moore, is Twitch the future over YouTube? And then Chief Avalon also asked, what about Twitch? I don't think Twitch is the future. I think it's a different tool. If you want to stream, Twitch has a lot of really good streaming tools and options there, especially in the gaming community, right? They're trying to branch out and do more DIY and educational type of streaming. I haven't heard anything about how well that's doing or not doing, but it's just a different tool. Like everyone's like, which is better, YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or YouTube or those types of things. And there are different tools for different things. So I just talked to a guy today, I had a call with a guy, and he's like, can you help me do this? Or can you help me grow this thing on YouTube? And I said, well, what's your goal for YouTube? Because YouTube's a tool. It's like you don't go up in your roof and try to drive nails with a rake, right? You take a hammer because that's what the tool is designed for. And so it depends what your goal is and depends on what you're trying to accomplish. That then determines if it's YouTube you go with, if it's podcasting you go with, if it's something else you go with. That's what determines it. Okay. Thank you for the new sponsors, Tim Day Photography and Creator Fundamentals. Good to see both of you guys. I'm looking forward to getting to know you more inside the sponsor-only stuff here on my YouTube channel and the content there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So thank you so much, you guys, for your support. Can't wait to talk with you live on our call and live show. And those of you guys who are listening to the recording, the podcast of this, or watching the replay later, you can just go to my channel at youtube.com, and there's a big sponsor button next to the subscribe button, and that's what we're talking about. It gives you access to kind of joining the community side of supporting the content, but also the other things that we're doing there together. So I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. Let's see. Jay Caslow. It makes sense, though, that YouTube be growing faster than Facebook and it counts users, since one person may likely create multiple YouTube channels where they always be one person on Facebook. Yeah, I think it depends on how you define users, Jay. Users, I don't think when I hear users, I'm thinking unique individuals. I don't think accounts. I'm thinking the way users is like, you're a user, I'm a user. I have multiple channels. You might have multiple, but having multiple channels does not make you does not make you multiple users. So I don't think that's quite what it is, although I don't have any information to say that authoritatively or whatever. We just don't know. And a lot of you guys, I see a lot of these comments and chat. You guys are kind of frustrated with kind of how things are going on YouTube for the smaller channels. And I totally understand, and I get it. Keep going, keep trying. If you believe that the effort that you need to put into reaching your goal is worth it. If you have a smallish goal and you don't believe that the energy and resources and time is worth it, then there's nothing wrong with bowing out and stopping. There's nothing wrong with quitting. I want to give you full permission to not do this for the rest of your life. It's okay, right? just because you start something doesn't mean you have to finish. I know that goes along against a lot of things maybe that we've here, but I don't believe, like, I start plenty of books and it's just not valuable for me, and so I don't finish reading it. You can do that in other areas of life too. So YouTube can be one of them, and so I know that goes against probably everything you expect me to say, but if the goal you have for YouTube isn't worth the effort you think it's going to take to get there, then it's okay. Put your time into something else. So I understand the frustration, but I personally don't believe that it's worth pointing blame on like YouTube or in politics, pointing the blame on government, or in my family or like my marriage, pointing the blame on my wife. There's always something I can do and take responsibility for that will help. Like, I can't control what YouTube, the government, relationships, other people, I can't control what they do, but I can control my reaction, how I respond. And I think that's the perspective that we should have on all things in life, including YouTube. Things will change. It's a part of life. What do we need to do to say, okay, this is how things are? That's part of why I do these live streams and these podcasts talking about what's changing in the online in the online video platform, because this is kind of what helps us make those choices and decisions. Like, okay, television is becoming more of a thing. That's a change to have. I need to start thinking about that. YouTube Red, YouTube Originals, like these are the things that are happening in the environment in which I'm creating and growing a business. What does that mean for me as a creator? That's how I think we should think. Not YouTube took this away from me, now I'm going to give up and show them that, whatever. I understand the frustration, but it's not to say I'm always patient and never get frustrated with like my wife or with the government or things. At the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? That's what they're going to do. I can't control it. I'm going to still reach my goals, what I believe is important. Yes, Hops and Bros, plenty of growth space available for every single creator. Absolutely. That's the way it goes. Chris Winter, thank you for becoming a new sponsor. And Heather, good to see you, Heather. It was fun talking with Heather Whiteley, and her sister's channel, which is one of those examples of a space channel, a channel that's in a space outside of the English space, that's in Spanish. So thank you, Heather and Chris. Thank you for becoming sponsors. Can't wait to hang out with you guys on our call-in live streams and things. And Capper Outdoors, thank you for your super chat as well. So guys, this is a really big topic, and I know we could talk about this for a very long time, but I would just encourage you guys, keep going. It is worth it, and that some of these things will be changing. For those of you guys who are sponsors and patrons, I will be posting a few other stories, news stories that we didn't cover here today, but also came up in the news last week that I think is important for us as creators, about the impressions, unique viewers, and click-through rates that we've been talking about in the past few weeks that are becoming available in analytics. Some things that are happening on iPhone X in the mobile, or iPhone 10 in mobile space on YouTube, and some of the things YouTube's doing in the music industry with some revamped things that they're working on there. So those links and more will be available for those of you guys who are sponsors. Look at my community tab for that sponsor-only private post there for you guys with those links, as well as you patrons, and I'll get that out to you guys here later today. So really great hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you to Heidi from Scandinavian Today for producing this and pulling all the comments out from chat and helping everything run smoothly. And all you guys who are sponsors, I really do appreciate all of you guys and patrons. And can't wait to hang out with you guys again next week. Mondays, live, youtube.com, youtube.com/video creators. Or if you're on listening to the podcast, it'll be in iTunes the day after on Tuesday. So thank you guys for hanging out, and we'll catch up again next week.